this bathtub here is actually raised up slightly. I installed these just level, but that area had already been raised up with pallets to improve the drainage, so it's 100 millimeters higher than the other ones. But what I'm going to do with the green roof trays on top, I'm going to add a soil feeding station and raise up the level, so it makes like a nice undulating bank over the whole of these bathtubs. I think that look quite attractive. What I've got here, just these circles, they're actually tree trunks standing up on end, and they're in a cut down 45-gallon barrel, which acts as a reservoir. So when it rains, that captures the rainwater in there, and then the moisture wicks up into the log. So about 2 feet of that will be really quite saturated. So what happens there, this is surrounded by wood chips, so the moisture from the log will radiate out, and capillary action will carry that into the wood chip. So it just makes a nice moist damp environment, which hastens the speed that the wood breaks down. So I'm just trying to increase the composting sort of area and make different habitats as well. So these are good for things like lesser stag beetle larvae and ground beetles as well. So it's a little mini habitat and terrific for fungi as well. So we get lots of fungi and mould and from the wood, which will break down the wood chip quite fast. And then the worms from the bathtubs will be able to move into that material. And likewise, earthworms will be able to move up into that material as it breaks down, and then gain entry to these bathtub wormeries as well. So it creates more of a habitat. So when the material in this is depleted and the worms haven't really got a source of food, it just makes it easier for them to move between the various sort of composting methods and sort of facilities on the site. So it's quite good in that way, I think. I haven't tried this out. I've tried them out as logs just in the 45-gallon cut down reservoirs, and I was really quite impressed by how much moisture was actually in the wood and in the logs. So these bathtubs they're raised up on a steel welded table frame, just the legs, and underneath there's capillary wicking trays, so rainwater and run through from the worm castings is sort of harvested or contained in those capillary trays, which have got biochar in the base, which helps to activate the biochar, and in turn the plants will benefit from the run through from the worm castings as well. So they're only mind your own business and ferns just growing under these ends too. There is actually a tree here, which is why I've shown a gap there, and I haven't actually mulched under there. And these are just in plastic bags a little bit away from the trunk, so it's not going to rot the bottom of the tree off. This one here, I've got a lot of timber underneath, so this bathtub is also like a hugelkultur mound as well. And it just means there's more habitat for the beetle larvae and worms are all around there as well. So it makes use of that area underneath the bath as well. So that's the hugelkultur piece, a little area. This is just a GR8 Garden Products 458 litre mesh or welded sort of wire mesh compost bin. I think it's about 750 millimeters square and 900 tall or something like that. So it's the same sort of height as this bathtub, of similar height to the slightly lower than the actual Dalek compost bins here. This CFT, it's in one of these GR8 compost containers. I've got to cut out the mesh, so this is a continuous flow through wormery. So there's an access panel in the base. So I've just got to just fold back the back bottom of that mesh, and I'll also use hugelkultur around here, and then part composted material. These two containers will just be full of wood chips, so that makes like a wood chip mound, which integrates into the hugelkultur mound. Just allows worms to move through on the different levels and gain access to the CFT, and it also acts as a little bit more sort of feeding grounds for the CFT as well. So I think that'd be quite effective. So miniature compost here. These are just my vertical green wall planters, which acts as a retaining wall and just helps the mulch on the compost there it just provides a little bit of retainer, so it doesn't sort of ramp down and fall down here. I haven't shown it on here, but this is a seating area here, and it's raised up on about a foot of pallets, logs, and wood chip. And so there's an edging here, and then this part of the allotment I haven't touched, so that's still quite low. And it's quite heavy clay and prone to sort of waterlogging as well, so that needs to be built up with hugelkultur really. It should be nice to get done. So that's wood chip in here, wood chip in here. That's between the two, that's about 1,000 litres of wood chip. This CFT, it's basically habitat and green wall planting as well. So I'm trying to plant up around the outsides. What I might do with these cages with the wood chip is maybe even plywood or something like that, or just a reclaimed timber panel, and then I'll infill the front, the sort of fascia, the side of it, the side that you see, and then I'll plant ivy leaf toe flax and things into that as well. I think that's going to work quite nicely, because when it rains, the wood chip will retain a lot of moisture as well. I'm not entirely sure what I use. I might use another mesh panel. Because this one has got the 4 sides, I can use 3 sides here and free up another plant panel, and I might just use cable ties or whatever just to fix it through. So set it back about 100 millimeters, and that would be a nice place to plant up. I might have to put a stay on the middle bit, a piece of wood or something, just to sort of stop it from ballooning out or deforming when it's got the wood chip in there, because there's going to be quite a lot of weight in that. So these are wood chippers, both wood chip. Lots of wood chip around here. And then where these are just circles, these are just like compost bins, 330 litres. And I've put a bit of old panel there from a garden store or something like that. It just helps retain. I've got wood chip around here as well. I haven't shown it on there, but there's a course of bricks around the base. And underneath of this is on 2 plastic pallets, and then there's a welded wire mesh underneath as well, so that makes it really rodent proof. And I'm also building up the bricks around the front. So the idea is here, mainly brewer's waste and wood chip, which is on site. This wood chip, it's really just more for habitat and also to provide a bit of green wall planting. So I've got this sort of horseshoe of composting, and the entrance here has got the entrance into this little bit where the plastic compost bins are. That's got the hugelkultur as well, and this bed here is a wicking bed, so that's quite nice to grow into. But I've got hugelkultur around here as well, so I'm trying to build up a sort of transition between the bathtub wormeries with hugelkultur, so it makes a real habitat, and it extends the feeding zone for the worms in these bathtubs as well. The bathtubs are all at the same level, it's just this one, so I was going to bank up the green roof planters on here just to make a lovely a curved sort of mound. And I'm tempted, I've got some sort of feeding stations, I might do my yellow marine, my yellow submarine on there with the windows, and it's HDPE, but I'm thinking I might get some reclaimed acrylic and make some formers, and then cut down a piece of acrylic tube to make a little conning tower, and then I can prime that and maybe put some rivets on it and things just to dress it up. I think that'd be quite fun. I'm sort of working on ideas that I want to integrate into schools as well. So I think having this soil feeding station and all the worms under there, it gives you the idea of this subterranean sort of environment. And I think the wormarine is quite good fun. You kind of imagine these worms sort of navigating around in the soil like little submarines almost. I think worms do have a sort of an aquatic sort of original in terms of the evolutionary sort of development. So I mean, some species of worms are aquatic, so it's interesting. As obviously worms and things like woodlice have really sort of damp environments. They habitat. So yeah, lots going on. It's quite big, so you can see that's 1.7 meters, that's 1.7, that's 1.7. This is a bit longer, 1.2 here, about 800 here. That's about these are 900 wide, that's 700. It's 1200, and that's about 300 millimeters there. So I'll have to sort of work out the area, but Each one of these is about 220 litres of compost. These are 450 and then 330. So and then I've got the 2 compost bays, and then this is like a third bay here. And I've got the sort of facility for having carbons on hand ready to go into the compost bin. So what I'm trying to do is make this look attractive at the same time. So these are just like a terrace really. So I might grow green manures, fill beans, clovers, alfalfa, and things like that on these, and also on these wood chip piles as well. That's going to work really nicely, and especially with the CFT wormery and all the wood chip, because you'll get the fungal sort of breakdown of the wood chip, and the worms will be eating the microbes and the biology as that material is breaking down. Yeah, so that is going to work really well, and the whole thing is actually majority of this is standing up on pallets. This area here is actually, it's a foot depth of pallets, logs, wood chip, and I've even composted down a lot of feathers from a duvet as well. So there's loads of organic matter in this. And I think with the wormeries and the bathtub wormeries, and once there's a sort of integration between the underlying soil and these bathtubs, I think that's going to work really, really well. I mean, I've made something like this on the other allotment, and it's just the 2 plastic pallets, 2 compost bins, and a big pile of wood chip, and the wood chip broke down really, really nicely. And the excess leachate and the moisture from the bottom of the compost, as the compost breaks down, when you're putting in lots of wet, damp brewer's waste and food scraps, that's absorbed by that wood chip. And this has got a welded wire mesh underneath as well, so there's aeration. I've got some aeration pipes to go into these as well. The CFT wormery is a kind of work in development as well, so I've got an idea for a centre aeration pipe, but I think there's ventilation through the base, and then I've got a kind of plastic lid that goes underneath that's held up, and I've got aeration holes in there as well, but I might add the vertical pipe as well. And this is open to the air, and it's got the crimson clover growing in a can of worms, a wormery tray, or a sump with the holes drilled in it, so rainwater will be able to go through, and then that will drain down into a capillary matting, and then that be wicked up hopefully by the timber in the base. So there's a little cycle of reusing the rainwater as well, which would be quite good. And obviously the runoff will be run through the wormery, so that will benefit the surrounding plants. That's why I wanted to have this big mass of organic material there, and then planting up into the green walls as well. So this will be green wall, that will be green wall, and the whole area will be covered by green roof planting. I haven't got any planters on that part. That's quite shady under the tree, but it might be worth just doing just sowing something, so I've got something growing in the green roof trays. And the nice thing about those as well is when I compost in situ on one of the beds, I use the same trays. So when I need to access that bed, I can just move the tray straight onto this maturing compost. So then that will benefit from having all the soil biology and the microbes around the sort of root zone of the plants as well. But I think it's easier sometimes just to see this on a drawing, and then when I show you what's going on the actual allotment, it's easier to sort of get a bit more of an understanding of what's going on underneath. But thanks for watching. I hope it was a benefit.